Hello, everyone. I assume you've seen the Enrique Riquelme interview on Cope during El Partidazo. He said this: if I become president, I will sign a player from the Spanish national team who will have played in the World Cup. And Juanma Castaño, who was eager to get a headline out of this, asked him, he thought he was going to get a Figo type headline out of this. And he said, the meme, he says, well, there are many very good ones. He didn't give a clear answer, but I'm telling you, the meme is impossible. Figo is a once in a lifetime thing, that's all. I think that player, place your bets. The most logical choice is Rodri from Manchester City. But watch out. It could also be Nico Williams. It could also be Fabian. It's harder to get Fabian out of PSG. Nico Williams' situation is complex as I see it. The easiest option, also because of Rodri's contract situation and the needs that Real Madrid might have since he's already been linked with them, it's Rodri. Another factor is if Madrid club members want him, be careful with that. This is mainly aimed at the club members. Tomorrow he presents the social project. Then Thursday he shifts to the sports side. And today he hasn't said if he's going to reveal who these names are, because now we're talking about the coach. Now we're talking about the coach who has also given some hints. And well, at least he's given some clues. I mean, he's been dropping hints. Also, the topic of the social project, which I'll talk about in a moment because someone told me something about it the other day. Or maybe I've already heard someone who has gone in a very, well, I mean, not Enrique Riquelme, who has tried to keep skirting around that so as not to spoil things. Tomorrow's presentation at 12 noon, that's when we'll know. But yes, it's going to be a physical place where the member can say, wow, now I really feel rewarded for being a Real Madrid member, like I told you the other day. Well, first of all, before anything else, I'm going to go over everything he said with some interesting audio. But first, and especially to go through what happened today in chronological order, it's already known that the elections, the voting will be on Sunday, June 7th in Valdebebas. Because, well, with the Pope arriving, access to the Bernabeu and so on was very difficult. In the basketball pavilion of Real Madrid City, which is on Alejandro de la Sota Avenue with no street number listed. And the member will have, look, from 9 in the morning until 8 in the evening, late evening. It's really close by, so we'll be there to vote early because surely in the afternoon, yes, in the afternoon, I'll have to go on a trip. I'll tell you all about it. The World Cup is coming up. I'll tell you some things. But anyway, this video is about what happened today between the two candidates, of course. We'll talk about other topics later. And Florentino Pérez has presented a video in which, well, he talks about legacy. He talks about everything he's done and so on. I mean, and also a video, a very well-made video, the images. I mean, the video basically makes itself, but with Florentino's voiceover. And the anthem was being hummed, na 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 na, the whole time, right? And it's good. It's really good. I like the video, of course. Can you see Fudre as a Real Madrid fan giving out trophies and playing basketball? Maybe you wouldn't enjoy that, right? But the most significant part of the video was this moment when he talks about how every stone of the next Valdebebas expansion has OK engraved on it. And that's it. There are all the training fields, the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium. And there's something in the middle that looks like a stadium. And so, of course, people have already started to speculate about things. And there was someone, because, well, you know, there was someone who already recreated it with artificial intelligence. It would look more or less like this. It would look something like this, right? And, well, another stadium. So what's going on here? Let's see if Florentino explains it in the launch of Florentino's campaign itself. It's going to be tomorrow at 7 in the evening. We talked about it in the previous video. Well, this Wednesday at 7 in the evening, because maybe you're already watching the video this Wednesday. And Alberto Pereiro said on Onda Quero that he's not going to talk about anything sports related. I think at some point he'll need to announce his coach. I imagine he'll have to talk about Mourinho. I imagine that. And also I think that there, Enrique Riquelme, and now we're going to hear from Enrique Riquelme and go over what he said on El Partidazo de Cope. If he doesn't mention any names against Florentino and the other one does, damn, well, the point here is for one to try to get under the other's skin and fill the gaps that the other one might leave, right? And I think that there, if Florentino doesn't dare to say any names, the other one has to say them. Today, he didn't want to say it, even though Juanma Castaño wanted the exclusive, and he gave hints. He gave hints that we'll talk about in a moment. But well, hey, if Florentino dares to say that and that stadium wouldn't serve as a secondary stadium, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I imagine this will be a long time from now, right? But anyway, since Florentino is always thinking ahead, and that's one of the undeniably good things about Florentino in these 23 years as president of Real Madrid. Well, we're in 2026, but he was out from 2006 to 2009. And of course, as he says, with the ellipsis and the story yet to be written, or a lot of history still to be made, well, in terms of infrastructure and in terms of, what isn't sports related, which is also very important, of course, is a phenomenon. And let's see what he tells us. Let's see what Florentino tells us, because the other one is talking, and he's already talking a lot. He's talking a lot because he's almost out of time. Well, Enrique Riquelme, this has definitely been the most striking thing, because he's complained again about Spanish Real Madrid players not being called up to the national team. And he says, if I'm president, I'll sign a player. But it's true, because here Juanma Castaño has been asking and pressing him on it until he got him to say that the player will have already played in the World Cup with Spain. And I say again, tell me in the comments who you think it is, because I can think of some. Hey, I haven't looked at Spain's full squad right now. I haven't checked it. But if I start thinking Grimaldo, left back. I don't know if we have an overbooking of left backs. I mean, Pedro from Barça, well, no. Gabi, even less. I mean, of course. Oyarzabal, I doubt Madrid is targeting Oyarzabal, or even Panda or Ferran Torres. For me, this is separate from Victor Munoz, who's returning, but I don't think he meant him. Well, for me, it has to be either Rodri or Nico Williams or Fabian or Mikel Merino. But I don't think so either. Yes, I think it must be. And in that order, Rodri, Nico Williams, Fabian, maybe. The last one had fewer chances, and I don't see Nico either. But anyway, let me know in the comments about the coach, about what he said. And I think it's somewhere around here, because there are a lot of statements from him here on the Copa account. I'll see if I can find one. In a series of questions that Joseba Larrañaga asked him, quick ones and all, he put him through a kind of strange game there, where he mentioned a coach whose first name starts with J and whose last name starts with K, and so on. He went with Jurgen Klopp, but it was actually Jurgen Klinsmann, because he was playing around with the birth year and all that. Anyway, the coach won't be Jurgen Klopp, as he currently has a team. I think he's going to say it. Here it is. We're only keeping a few, since there are so many. I'll share a bit about them and my opinion, but this one stood out. Who did we think of? Now I'll tell you who my candidates are. Pay attention.
2 international stars, a sporting director and a coach for Madrid. And we've been, yes. And I say, if they're finalized, this will be known before Sunday, June 7th.
There are people who are on one side. There are people who are on the other, of course. Absolutely. We are going to start with the candidacy, first the social part, and then starting on Thursday, we'll begin with the sports part. And we'll start giving the right names, the right projects, and the right process.
When did you lock in the coach?
We finalized the coach before announcing the candidacy. Before? Of course. We said, hey, we need to know if we have a proper team. Because, I mean, how am I going to sign star players?
Is he with another team? Is the coach without a team?
No, he's with the team. Let's see, which team? Let's narrow it down. Does he wear glasses, have hair, and what color? And what kind of eyes does he have? Let's see. I mean, I'm saying like what he has too. I came to interview. In the first interview, I can't reveal the whole campaign on day one.
Well, who comes to mind for you? Someone in the messages and then also on Partidazo said it's Cesc Fabregas. Someone, a viewer, a televiewer, wrote it's Cesc Fabregas. It could be. I don't know how the average Real Madrid club member would accept this. And the Real Madrid fan in general, that Fabregas is a great coach, of course. And he has worked a miracle with Como. But we already talked about him here at the time. And, well, I think that, Unai Emery, who just won the Europa League. Unai Emery, who was already mentioned at the time. I doubt that'll excite the club membership much, honestly. Maybe the Fabregas situation would, since you'd be taking him from Barça. You knew that coach would eventually manage Barça, right? And who else? Arteta. I mean, getting Arteta out of Arsenal seems very difficult to me. And if it's not Jurgen Klopp, because he said he already has a team, who could it be? Unai Emery comes to mind. If we're talking about Spanish coaches, of course, who right now seem to be more in vogue. If not, then Scaloni, Pochettino. These were already talked about at the time, but of course they were never linked to Enrique Riquelme because we practically didn't even know about the existence of Enrique Riquelme. Speaking of the existence of Enrique Riquelme, the name itself is something, right? Enrique Riquelme, right? Enrique Riquelme. Well, he talked about his career, and honestly, it's a speech about how he started and all that, pawning his father's watch. He left. He went to Panama, and he had to reinvent himself. In this country, in Spain, unfortunately, look, I love Spain. I mean, I feel 100% Spanish, as it couldn't be any other way, and I love my country. But here, envy is the national sport, unfortunately, like I said. So when you see someone who, very young, at 37 years old, has had such a successful path, you say he must have done something, or I don't know what, right? So the man started talking about how he went from one thing to another and so on, and the renewable energy sector and all that. And of course, this creates a feeling in a lot of people, not in me, certainly not. Neither with him nor with Florentino. And now I'll talk about Florentino, of rejection. I don't know why, but that's how Spain is. The food is great, but we also have this, right? And there are some awesome beaches too, yes, but then we also have this. So how did Florentino start? I mean, Florentino was also a guy who was ahead of his time, a young man back then who... honestly, I'm not as familiar with Florentino's story on that point, but back then times were different. It also has to be said that this man started out as an entrepreneur when he was young, in a really tough time, during a crisis, not just in Spain, but a global crisis. 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, those were terrible, terrible years. He shared that story, which should interest anyone wanting to know him. And now let's get to the main point. He's requested another debate with Florentino and also mentioned Real Madrid television. It's just that there's a television channel that should be dedicated to this, right? He suggests Florentino won't debate, and I agree. Florentino also criticized Pedrerol for taking a swipe at Pedrerol over appearing on his show, even though he never actually promised to go. He said, let's see if you invite me, and the other one said, here's your seat, and he still hasn't gone. I think he will go, but he told Juanma Castaño, I feel more comfortable here, because he thinks that the field, I mean, Pedrerol's turf is Florentino Perez's turf. And he's right. Honestly, that's true. He's right. He mentions that being president isn't something you improvise, a phrase Florentino used. In the video, that promotional video for his candidacy, he answered the following. He says, well, he's had several improvisations lately. I think today he was very sharp, throwing things out there. I mean, he's on a roll now. At the beginning, in the first interviews, I saw him not nervous, but I saw him very timid. I saw him measuring his words a lot. He still does it, but I think now he's loosening up a bit more. And above all, he's throwing down challenges. He has said again that these could be the last elections, which is a way he can attack Florentino. That's why I would like there to be a debate. And let me make a brief aside here. Those who say that this member who has put up 200 million as a financial guarantee after 20 years without elections at Real Madrid, who is a successful businessman and all that, who wants to propose a debate with Florentino Perez, anyone who says that a debate isn't necessary, well, I think they're wrong. For me, he's still far from Florentino, mainly since Florentino is Real Madrid's current president. The legacy exists, and he faces a huge challenge. This guy, maybe for the next elections, for this one, I think it's very unlikely, but Madrid needs a debate because there are things, after many years of great success with Florentino Perez, but with 2 years in which good decisions haven't been made. And this is absolutely objective, absolutely objective. Some of you are probably already messaging me, calling me a traitor and such. It's unbelievable they're calling Tonier the bullfighter a traitor for inviting him there with more fan club members, etc. So he can talk and present his project. And they say, well, Tonier the bullfighter a traitor. So then, I mean, you can support one person, but then you can also support someone else. Because I have a lot of affection for Jesus Bengochea. By the way, he's a great Madridista. And to me, he's a very respectable Madridista. I think he announced today that he'll be director of communications for Florentino Perez's campaign. I'm happy about it because I like seeing people succeed. And if it means supporting Florentino just like for Tenorio, etc., they're doing the right thing. But why should they be? Why should we point them out? And there are people pointing them out too. but they're calling this one a loyalist, whatever that means, and the other one a traitor. So if we live in this Spain or in this world with this kind of brother against brother hostility, right? The calling out someone who thinks differently isn't good, and we're seeing something very toxic in these Real Madrid elections. Well, the thing is, they say they're going up in the polls they're doing, that there are people who are kind of undecided, that Florentino is still winning, but apparently they're catching up. That's what he says. Of course, this is like propaganda in war, right? Your message has to be very, very subjective. No, it's the only presidency of anything where they ask a guy for 200 million just to be able to run. That's outrageous. And if in 20 years no one has run, it's for a reason. On transparency, he says, we already covered all this with Florentino at the press conference in Pedrerol's interview, and we'll discuss it with Florentino again tomorrow, depending on what he talks about. People might say I talk about him a lot, but Florentino just made a video today. He hasn't spoken before. The details about transparency, becoming a member and a season ticket holder are still unclear. And today he didn't mention Ana Slagari, though he has in other interviews. Why is this man a member? Why did Ana Slagari and her wife become members only recently? Why is he a member while others who have likely been watching for a long time are not? Be careful with that, because it could also be a tool, something used to put pressure on Florentino so that Florentino has to make a statement. Maybe that's also why, and for other reasons, he wants to avoid the debate, because Florentino has a lot to lose, and this guy has nothing to lose. This guy is making himself known. The issue of the show of hands voting in the delegates' assemblies. He says members and supporters fear being seen with him. Today, some who were with Toñín El Torello got slammed by some of the people who hand out membership cards. It also has to be said, the social aspect of Madrid. Well, I already said it at the beginning. They're going to have a place. It's going to be a physical thing. Do you remember what I told you the other day about the physical place where the member is going to feel recognized? He'll announce that tomorrow at 12, which is already set. We've already discussed the 2 stars and the coach. He talked, as I said, about his career, that the Negreira issue, that Negreira has been a concern for the club since. And he said, what a coincidence, since we broke off or split because of the Super League with Barça. And also a harsh statement, can Barça get away with this because Madrid didn't act in time? I don't think it's quite like that. Barça won't get away with it. Barça won't get away with it. If action had been taken earlier, they could have been punished earlier, of course, but I think Barça will get some kind of punishment. I'm convinced. With all the fronts that are open, I'm convinced. But, well, he points out the issue that we were in bed with Laporta and we weren't doing what... And there, sorry, but he's right. Obviously not. And I've said this before this man appeared, before he showed up in the public sphere. I've been saying this for a while. He made another mistake when he talks about the whole strong Barça thing, that Florentino didn't say anything about a strong Barça, and he's made videos about that. Florentino didn't say strong Barça. He said Real Madrid and Barcelona have to help each other. He has distanced himself from Pedro Sanchez and politics. Is he concerned about voting by mail, since he says he doesn't have the voter roll, and that Florentino, as Real Madrid president, also hasn't received it because of the data protection issue, and he doesn't take a stance with Vinny. Hey, but how is it possible that he still hasn't renewed? Well, look, he just used some commonplaces there. Let's see if they can reach an agreement. Well, I don't know, here in this, with things working well, you can reach that understanding, but he hasn't taken a stance. And about the Tebas issue, which Nacho asked him about later, even though they're questions, I think Nacho did it wrong, even though he's a good friend. It's not that he meant to mislead him. It's just that we should be a bit more concise about the Tebas issue, because he says, no, I don't like everything being taken personally, and Florentino hasn't taken it personally. Someone said it about him, right? But Tebas insulted Florentino first, and often he's been more on Tebas' side than Florentino's. It's a bit ambiguous there, and I would like, because I considered it a red line, I would like it to be a bit more concise, because for me, the issue of the relationship with Tebas, not because Tebas is the kind of person he is, but because of everything. Look, I'm going to say it clearly, because of everything he has given him to Barça, which is glaringly obvious. He hasn't explained the credit. That famous one, Tebas has admitted that Barça says he was deceived, or he let himself be deceived, with the fictitious levers from August 2022. About Olmo, it seems he was against it, but then he already forgot about it. He came out hugging Laporta again, even though he had deceived him before with Olmo and the Lewandowski situation. And the registrations of Koundé and Nico Martinez and so on, well, that alone should make it impossible for him to look him in the face. And yet we've just seen Tebas hugging Laporta. So that's unforgivable. It's no longer personal. The president of La Liga is doing all of this. Even if you dislike him, it's just too ugly to accept. I wish this man were more forceful. I'll stop now, as this is getting lengthy. Thanks for listening to my thoughts on what Enrique Riquelme said. See you next time. Hope all goes well for you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel. Have a good night. And tomorrow, let's go for it, because the event is at 12 noon and Florentino at 7 tomorrow. Information about the Real Madrid elections. As always, bye.